Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something right now. If you want to change your life, you've got to start with your emotions. Not your job, not your money, not your relationship, your emotions. Because emotional discipline, that right there, that changes everything. Emotional discipline is the ability to stay calm, focused, and purpose-driven, even when emotions are pulling you in every direction. It's not about pretending you don't feel anything. It's about not letting what you feel dictate every move you make. Life doesn't give us easy situations all the time. You wake up with stress, somebody says something that triggers you. Bills come in, disappointments happen, and things don't go the way you plan. In those moments, it's easy to lose control. It's easy to let fear, frustration, or sadness take the wheel and drive your action. But emotional discipline means you pause before reacting. You breathe before responding. You lead your emotions instead of being led by them. It's not natural. It's a learned skill. It takes intention. You have to train yourself for it the same way you train your muscles in the gym, because emotions are powerful. And if you don't learn to manage them, they will manage you. There are people walking around every day acting out of hurt they never processed. Anger from years ago, still living in their tone. Fear from the past, still guiding their choices. They don't even realize that their emotions are running the show. But when you practice emotional discipline, you begin to separate your identity from your emotion. You stop saying, I am angry, and start saying, I feel angry, but I can choose how I respond. That little shift changes everything. It gives you your power back. It gives you control over the one thing you can always control, yourself. In a world that tries to provoke you constantly, emotional discipline is a kind of superpower. It's not weakness to stay calm, it's strength. It's strength not to clap back. It's strength to walk away. It's strength to think before speaking. Emotional discipline gives you clarity, because when you are not clouded by temporary feelings, you can see permanent truths. That clarity helps you make better decisions, build stronger relationships, and protect your peace. People who practice emotional discipline don't avoid confrontation. They just don't allow emotion to distort communication. They face challenges with grounded energy instead of reactive chaos. It's also important to understand that emotional discipline is not suppression. Suppression is dangerous. It builds resentment. Emotional discipline is awareness. It's saying, I see what I feel, I understand what I feel, and I will not let it take me off course. You acknowledge your emotions without giving them full control. That gives you the freedom to act from your values, not your mood. And when you consistently act from your values, your life starts to reflect stability and strength. Think about the moments in your life when things went wrong because of an emotional reaction. Maybe it was an argument, a bad decision, or something you said that you didn't mean. We've all been there. But now think about what could have changed if you had paused, if you had taken one breath. That space between emotion and reaction is where discipline lives. And that space can save relationships, opportunities, reputations, and futures. Emotional discipline helps you create that space. This kind of discipline also builds confidence. When you know you can handle emotionally charged situations without breaking down or blowing up, you walk different. You speak with intention. You listen better. People trust you more, and more importantly, you trust yourself. You start to build a reputation not just for what you do, but how you carry yourself. Emotional discipline becomes part of your character, not just your behavior. It shows up in how you lead, how you parent, how you love, how you navigate adversity. Because no matter what the world throws at you, your internal world is steady. And that steadiness is rare, valuable, and powerful. Mastering your emotions gives you control over your reactions, choices, and relationships. Emotions are natural, but they are not always accurate. They come fast, they're intense, and sometimes they lie to us. You might feel like someone disrespected you when they didn't mean it. You might feel abandoned when someone simply had their own struggle going on. When you don't master your emotions, you allow those temporary feelings to become permanent consequences. But when you learn how to manage and guide those emotions instead of reacting from them, you begin to take back control of the things that really matter. Life will always bring challenges and people will always test your peace, but you don't have to let any of it define you. Mastery is about recognizing what you feel and choosing how to respond in a way that honors your growth. Your reactions are often the most visible part of your emotional life. People don't see your thoughts, they see your reactions. That's how they judge your character, your reliability, your maturity. If you can't control how you react when you're frustrated, jealous, anxious, or angry, you'll hurt people around you and sabotage your own progress. But emotional mastery teaches you to take a moment, assess the situation, and respond not from the raw emotion, but from your wisdom. It doesn't mean you become emotionless. It means your emotions stop driving your behavior like an impulsive child. It means you become the adult in your own inner world. People who have mastered their emotions don't avoid the difficult conversations, but they approach them with calm and clarity. They don't let rage or ego speak for them. They let values and purpose lead the way. Choices are deeply affected by emotion. When you're sad, you might choose to isolate. When you're angry, you might choose to burn a bridge. When you're insecure, you might choose to settle for less than you deserve. Every one of those choices can change your life. Emotional mastery lets you pause long enough to make better choices. You learn to wait until the emotional storm passes so you can see clearly. The decision you make in a state of peace is always better than the one you make in panic. Mastering your emotions is like putting a filter on your decision-making process. You don't block emotion, you just make sure it's not the only voice you listen to. The relationships thrive or suffer depending on emotional control. When two people both operate out of unfiltered emotion, conflict becomes explosive, misunderstandings become frequent, and trust becomes fragile. But when at least one person in that relationship practices emotional mastery, peace becomes possible. Patience shows up. Listening becomes deeper. The relationship gains strength because it's no longer just reacting, it's responding. It's not just about how you feel. It's about how you communicate that feeling and how you hold space for what others feel too. You stop taking everything personally and start looking for understanding instead of blame. Mastering emotions also means you stop needing everyone to behave a certain way for you to feel okay. You stop being emotionally dependent on other people's actions. That's real freedom. When your peace no longer depends on people agreeing with you, liking you, or validating you, you start living with real strength. That kind of emotional independence empowers you to walk through the world without fear of rejection or failure, because your sense of self is grounded, not shaken by every wind that blows. It builds emotional confidence. You stop chasing reactions and start building responses. You become the person others look to when things fall apart because they know you won't. Mastery isn't perfection. It's awareness, intention, and consistency in how you deal with what you feel so you can protect what you're building. Emotional discipline allows you to break destructive cycles, anger, fear, self-doubt, and choose growth over reaction. A lot of people are stuck in loops they don't even realize they're in. They keep repeating the same arguments, attracting the same kind of relationships, making the same poor decisions, and experiencing the same disappointments over and over. And often, it's not because life is against them, it's because they haven't learned to interrupt their emotional patterns that lead them back to the same place. When anger becomes your default response, it pushes away connection and builds resentment. When fear controls your choices, it keeps you stuck in places you've outgrown. When self-doubt clouds your vision, it blinds you to your potential. These emotions aren't just feelings, they become habits. They turn into reflexes, and unless they are examined and replaced, they shape your life more than your intentions ever will. Breaking those emotional patterns requires awareness, and awareness is the first step to change. You've got to be willing to look in the mirror and be honest about what triggers you, what keeps pulling you into negativity, and what part of your reaction is a choice you stop realizing you're making. Emotional discipline is about reclaiming that choice. It's about pausing long enough to say, I've been here before and I don't want to go down this road again. It's about realizing that just because you've always reacted a certain way doesn't mean you have to continue reacting that way. Change begins the moment you become aware of the pattern and decide that your growth matters more than your pride or comfort. When anger shows up, emotional discipline lets you acknowledge it without unleashing it. You can say, I feel this, but I don't have to become this. That single decision is powerful because it creates space between stimulus and response. In that space, growth happens. You may have grown up around yelling, violence, or emotional chaos and not even recognize that peace is an option. But when you begin to discipline your emotional responses, you're not just changing your future, you're breaking generational patterns. You're teaching yourself and others around you that peace is possible even when pain is present. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. It's strength. It's transformation. Fear is another emotional cycle that people get trapped in. It tells you that failure is too dangerous, that rejection will destroy you, that trying is pointless. And too many people listen to that voice. They shrink, they settle, they stay small because they haven't yet built the emotional discipline to move forward while afraid. Fear won't always go away, but with emotional discipline, it doesn't have to. You learn to carry fear without letting it drive. You act with courage even when your hands are shaking. You speak your truth even when your voice trembles. Discipline doesn't remove fear, it trains you to keep moving anyway. That is how growth is chosen over reaction. That's how progress begins. Self-doubt is another quiet destroyer. It tells you you're not good enough, not smart enough, not strong enough. It lives in your mind like a critic, always whispering reasons why you should give up. But emotional discipline silences that voice by choosing truth over lies. It reminds you of what you've overcome, what you've built, and what you're capable of becoming. You start showing up with belief even when your emotions don't feel supported. You stop waiting to feel confident and start deciding to be consistent. Confidence grows from discipline, not the other way around. Over time, choosing emotional discipline over destructive reactions rewires how you move through life. It teaches your nervous system a new way to respond. Your body learns calm. Your mind learns focus. Your heart learns resilience. Growth becomes your default, not chaos. You may still feel the old emotions rise up, but they no longer control the outcome. You learn to sit with the emotion without letting it decide your next move. And that right there is how cycles are broken. Your future success is shaped more by how you respond emotionally than by your circumstances. Most people believe that success is built on talent, opportunity, and luck. And while those things can play a role, they're not what separate people who rise from those who stay stuck. The real difference is emotional response. Life throws things at everybody: setbacks, delays, betrayals, heartbreak, pressure. Nobody escapes those storms. But what determines who keeps going and who gives up is emotional discipline. It's how you handle frustration when the results are slow, how you handle pressure when everything is on the line, how you stay calm when others panic, how you respond to rejection without shrinking back. That response, those internal reactions, shape your choices, and your choices build your future. There are people who've been through worse circumstances than you and still made it. There are people who started with less and still found a way. It's not that they had better luck or better help. It's that they mastered their emotional reaction to the obstacles. They didn't let pain turn into bitterness. They didn't let fear turn into paralysis. They didn't let temporary failure convince them to stop trying. They kept showing up not because it was easy, but because they trained themselves to keep moving forward, even when it hurt. That kind of response doesn't come from wishing. It comes from emotional discipline. The world may never be fair, but your response can always be powerful. English, circumstances are unpredictable. You can't control the timing of opportunities. You can't always control the people who let you down. You can't even control the economy or the environment around you. But what you can control is how you manage your emotions when things don't go your way. That is your anchor. Emotional discipline is what lets you keep working when you're tired. Keep believing when you've been overlooked. Keep loving when you've been hurt. It's the force that keeps you rooted in purpose instead of getting tossed around by every disappointment. That steadiness becomes your edge. It's what separates the one who folds under pressure from the one who rises above it. Think about the people who inspire you. Chances are they didn't have a smooth journey. They were misunderstood, doubted, overlooked, but they didn't quit. And the reason they didn't quit wasn't because they never felt overwhelmed. It's because they learned how to deal with what they felt without letting it derail them. They used their emotion as fuel, not as an excuse. That's the secret to sustainable success. Emotions will visit you: anger, sadness, loneliness, even jealousy. But with discipline, you decide what to do with them. You don't deny them. You don't bury them. You just don't allow them to take the driver's seat. You use them as information, not instructions. Success requires consistency. But you can't stay consistent if you're emotionally fragile. If every small failure throws you into self-doubt, if every tough conversation sends you into avoidance, if every delay feels like defeat, then you'll give up too soon. Emotional discipline builds that consistency by teaching you to push through emotional resistance. When your emotions say stop, you say not yet. When your emotions say run, you say stand. When your emotions say break down, you say breathe. That inner strength becomes your superpower. Even in moments when you feel powerless externally, emotional discipline gives you back your internal power. You might not be able to change what's happening around you, but you can always change how you respond to it. That one choice ripples into everything: your focus, your effort, your attitude, your decisions. And over time, those consistent responses start to shape a very different outcome. Success, then, isn't built only on what happens to you. It's built on how you handle what happens. People with emotional discipline create peace inside regardless of chaos outside. Life rarely unfolds in a neat, calm, organized way. There's always something happening. Someone's disappointed in you. Deadlines are piling up. Bills are due. Someone misunderstood you, or your plans didn't go as expected. Most people let the outside world dictate their internal state. If things are going well, they're happy. If things are falling apart, they're anxious, angry, or discouraged. But people who develop emotional discipline don't live that way. They've trained themselves to protect their internal peace, no matter what's happening externally. That peace doesn't mean they ignore problems. It means they don't let those problems define them. They've built a kind of emotional firewall that stops every piece of outside drama from setting fire to their spirit. Creating peace inside is not a passive thing. It's not about lighting candles and repeating affirmations while ignoring life's problems. It's about confronting situations with a calm and grounded presence. It's about choosing stillness even when your circumstances feel loud. It takes effort to remain anchored when the world is shaking around you. Emotional discipline gives you the tools to stay composed when everything else is chaotic. That kind of composure is powerful. It doesn't mean you don't feel stress. It means stress doesn't control you. It doesn't mean you don't feel anger. It means anger doesn't explode out of you and damage what you care about. It means your inner world becomes a place of safety, strength, and clarity that the outside world can't easily invade. Peace is built through repetition. It's built every time you choose not to react. It's built every time you step away from the noise instead of diving into it. It's built every time you breathe instead of blame. Listen instead of lash out. Respond instead of react. Over time, your nervous system starts to trust that you can handle discomfort without losing your mind. You stop depending on other people to regulate how you feel. You stop needing circumstances to go your way to feel okay. And that's when you begin to live in a real kind of power. It's not the power of controlling other people. It's the power of controlling yourself. When you have peace inside, people can't shake you so easily. Their judgment doesn't cut as deep. Their drama doesn't hook you into chaos. Their bad energy doesn't poison your day. You become a kind of presence that other people notice. You walk in a room and change the atmosphere because you're not carrying confusion or desperation. You're carrying stillness. That stillness is attractive. It draws people in. Not because you're loud, but because you're centered. Not because you have all the answers, but because you've learned how to be calm in uncertainty. That's emotional maturity. That's leadership. That's strength. When you don't have peace inside, you end up reacting to everything. You overthink. You argue. You defend yourself constantly. You try to control people. You chase validation, and you become exhausted. But peace quiets all of that. It lets you choose your battles. It lets you walk away with dignity. It lets you let people be wrong about you and still sleep at night. It lets you do the hard work without being burned out emotionally. Peace is not passive. It's a strategy. It's a choice you make every day. And it comes from emotional discipline. You have to train your mind to think thoughts that serve you instead of thoughts that sabotage you. You have to choose presence over panic. You have to stop replaying the past and obsessing about the future and come back to what you can do right now. That present moment awareness is where peace lives, and the more you practice it, the more it becomes your default. You don't wait for peace to happen, you create it. You build it by learning how to sit with discomfort, how to respond instead of react, and how to maintain perspective when emotions try to pull you into chaos. You don't need to suppress emotions, you need to lead them, not let them lead you. Many people misunderstand emotional discipline as being cold, detached, or unemotional, but it's actually the opposite. Emotional discipline requires you to be deeply aware of what you're feeling. It means you understand your emotions so well that you don't allow them to control your behavior. Emotions are signals, not command. They are data, not direction. You don't ignore them, you interpret them. When sadness hits, it's not something to push away. It's something to understand. When anger rises, you don't explode or bottle it up. You investigate it, trace it back to its root, and decide how to deal with it in a way that brings growth instead of destruction. That's what it means to lead your emotions. It's about becoming the driver of your emotional state, not the passenger. Suppressing emotions never works in the long run. You can bottle up what you feel, but that bottle has a limit. One day it overflows, sometimes in ways that surprise even you. Suppression leads to resentment, emotional exhaustion, and eventually burnout. On the outside, you may seem calm, but on the inside, you're boiling. That's not emotional discipline. That's emotional avoidance. True emotional discipline allows space for the emotion to breathe, but it doesn't hand over the mic to that emotion. You don't let your emotions speak for you, decide for you, or act for you. You let them inform your understanding. Then you decide what to do next with clarity and intention. To lead your emotions, you first have to notice them. Most people are too distracted to even recognize what they're feeling. They numb with phones, with food, with noise, with busyness. But emotional discipline invites you to pause. It teaches you to check in with yourself before you respond to someone else. It helps you see that your irritation might actually be exhaustion, or your frustration might be fear. The more you understand the deeper layer beneath the emotion, the more capable you become of making wise choices in high-stress situations. This is how you lead, not just others, but yourself. When you lead your emotions, you also stop blaming people for how you feel. You stop saying things like, you made me angry, or they ruined my day. No one has that much power unless you give it to them. Your emotional state belongs to you. Taking ownership of it doesn't mean you excuse bad behavior from others. It means you refuse to let their behavior shape your character. That's emotional leadership. You might feel anger, but you choose not to become rage. You might feel anxious, but you choose not to spiral into panic. You might feel hurt, but you choose not to seek revenge or act from pain. You act from purpose. Another part of leading your emotions is learning to hold multiple truths at once. You can be disappointed and grateful at the same time. You can be scared and still take action. You can be sad and still hopeful. Emotional leadership is not about black and white thinking. It's about emotional flexibility, the ability to feel deeply and still move forward wisely. You become someone who doesn't collapse under the weight of big feelings, but who knows how to carry them with strength and care. This ability doesn't just serve you, it serves everyone around you. You become a calming force in the middle of storms. People trust you because they can feel that you're steady even when life is shaky. You don't have to fake it or pretend to be okay when you're not. But you also don't have to let your emotional state dictate your words, tone, or actions. Leading your emotions means checking in, slowing down, taking ownership, and choosing alignment over impulse. It's one of the hardest things to do, but it's also one of the most freeing. When your emotions don't run your life starts to move with clarity, peace, and purpose that can't be shaken by every mood or moment. You still feel everything, but you decide what leads the way.